Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I am Delilah from the Holistic Enchilada, and in today's video I'm going to be talking all about humectants, dew points, humidity, and weather styling in general. So I recently kind of delved into this topic because I've been seeing a lot of talk about it on Instagram. People are really confused about how dew points affect your hair in relation to humidity and the products that you are using, and everybody's really big on glycerin, but glycerin is only one of many different humectants that can behave differently depending on the weather. So I'm going to break all that down for you in today's video. As usual, I have a very lengthy blog post to go along with, so if this information is just too much, because I honestly think it's too much for you to absorb in one video, check out the blog post. Everything is all written out. I've got little diagrams and charts. I also have a free download cheat sheet that has this information basically by dew points. Like at low dew points, you're going to style with these kinds of products, you're going to avoid this. At high dew points, you're going to style with certain products and avoid that. So if you need that, which I need these kinds of things, you can download that. I will link it below. So let's get into weather styling. Before I start talking about dew points and that kind of thing, I want to explain humectants and emollients, because these are the two main types of ingredients that you want to be looking for when you are styling according to the weather. So humectants are ingredients that reduce the loss of moisture in your hair by attracting water from the environment. So humectants usually work by attracting the water in the air that's around you, but sometimes if it's really dry, they will pull the water that is in your hair out to themselves. So you can see how that could be detrimental if you're in an environment that has a lot of water in the air, water vapor in the air. It's going to attract that water to your hair. It's going to swell up and frizz. If you're in a very dry environment that doesn't have any water, it's going to pull the water out of your hair and it's going to dry it out big time. So humectants is something that you really want to pay attention to if you live in either extreme. In Florida, dew points are consistently high. There's humidity at like 90% year round. So I'm always styling for the same kind of weather. I always have to worry about humectants. I can't use really many products with humectants in them, or they can't be near the top of the ingredients list. I know that people up north right now are dealing with the opposite problem. It's November right now, so it's very cold and dry in some parts of the country, so you want to avoid humectants for other reasons. So I'll get into that in just a minute. So what kinds of ingredients are humectants? I'm just going to list a few. Check the link to the blog post because there are like 20 or 30 different humectants, so you want to make sure that you see them all. I'm not going to list them all in the YouTube description because it's too much information, so I'm just going to put the basics. So the really common ones are glycerin, mango butter, agave nectar, honey, flaxseed, algae extract, hydrolyzed collagen, propylene glycol, butylene glycol, panthenol, hyaluronic acid, sorbitol, glucose, fructose, and hydrolyzed proteins like collagen, elastin, silk, keratin, and so on. So these are the most common kinds of humectants that you're going to find in a lot of products. And it's okay if you're using, for example, shampoo and conditioner that you're rinsing out and it has humectants. I really wouldn't worry about that. What you want to pay attention to is your styling products. Anything that you're leaving on your hair, especially the last product that goes on your hair, that one's going to be like on the outer layer. You want to check if it has humectants in it and make sure that it actually agrees with the environment that you're in. Now, there's a second kind of humectant known as a film-forming humectant. And these are similar in that they help moisturize your hair, but they form a flexible barrier, a flexible film, kind of like a soft hold gel is how I would think of it. And so this creates a little barrier between your hair and the environment, so it actually is safe to use in low dew points, so it's not going to pull the moisture from your hair in low dew points. So film forming humectants, safe for low dew points. Those include, again, a very lengthy list. Check the blog post. I'll list a few. Flaxseed, okra, aloe vera. That's a super popular one that I see in a lot of products. Panthenol, another popular one. Xanthan gum, guar gum, pectin, marshmallow root, slippery elm, carrageenan, nettle, and hydroxypropyltrimonium honey, which I've seen a few times. So a bunch of products that I see pretty often in styling products, or a bunch of ingredients that I see pretty often in styling products right there. All right, now, those are humectants, the products that are moisturizing your hair by pulling the water from the environment to them. Emollients are different. They are hydrophobic oils. So that means that they repel water for the most part. So they're not attracting water, they are repelling water. They're doing the opposite. And why would you want to use an emollient? Because it seals your hair. It is moisturizing, whereas a humectant is hydrating, you're getting water in your hair. An emollient is moisturizing because we're dealing with oils here. So think of the oils that you would use in your hair, like argan oil, coconut oil, that kind of stuff. That usually, if you apply it to your hair, you're basically sealing your hair. You're creating a barrier between your hair and the environment. So these behave like anti-humectants, so the opposite of a humectant, basically repelling the water, sealing the hair. So anti-humectants do not attract and repel water. And traditionally, hair products have used silicones as their emollient anti-humectants. And now, since we're all following the curly girl method, we're trying to get away from silicones. There are other ingredients that kind of mimic the behavior of silicones and behave very similarly and do the same thing. So some things to consider are some emollients are not good for all hair types. So you have to consider if it's too heavy for your hair type, like shea butter, mango butter, that kind of thing. Lighter ones would be something like argan oil. So think about your hair porosity, how easily your hair gets built up and gets weighed down. That's what you want to consider when you decide on if these ingredients are good for you. Again, these two lists are on the blog post, but some popular emollients include argan oil, grapeseed oil, mango butter, sunflower oil, cetyl esters, cocoa butter, coconut oil, and jojoba oil. Anti-humectants, which are the ones that repel water, are going to be shea butter, coconut oil, avocado oil, olive oil, emulsifying wax, and PEG 8 beeswax, which is the water-soluble beeswax. Like I said before, since they're a little bit heavier than other things and they create kind of a seal, they do build up. So they're not necessarily like silicones that you can't wash them off, but they do build up, so you do have to clarify on a regular basis. Make sure you're clarifying correctly. Remember, the ingredient to look for in a clarifying shampoo is olefin sulfonate. If it is labeled clarifying, don't trust it. Look at the ingredients. Make sure that ingredient is in there, because oftentimes companies label their shampoos as clarifying and they are not. So make sure that if you're using emollients and anti-humectants, you are clarifying on a regular basis so that you avoid buildup, especially if your hair is prone to buildup like mine. I have to clarify at least once a month. Okay, now there are also humidity resistant ingredients, and these ingredients are really great for high humidity environments where there is a high dew point. Where I live year round, dew points above the 60s, humidity in the 80s, 90s to 100%. So I have to use products with humidity resistant ingredients pretty much every day. So these are going to be things like hard hold gels. Again, with these, some of them do build up, especially polyquats. If with the more natural ingredients and like cleaner formulations that I like to use, I don't find a lot of polyquats. But if you look at products like Diva Curl and some of the more conventional curly hair products, they do have a lot of polyquats in them. I know, for example, that LA Blue gel, that LA Looks gel, it causes buildup because it's got a couple of polyquats in them, but it's a really hard hold gel, so it's great for humidity. So again, clarify. So some humidity resistant ingredients are polyquats 4, 10, 69, 11, PVA VP copolymer, VP DMAPA acrylates copolymer, I don't know what the hell that is, polyacrylate acid, and polyacrylate 2 cross polymer. So these are all synthetic ingredients, as you can see, but these are all ingredients that are made to provide a strong hold to your hair. So for the most part, strong hold products are probably gonna have one of these ingredients in them. So I'm gonna pop up a photo right here. This is the Giovanni LA Hold Gel, which is one of the gels that I use. I actually used it when I washed my hair a few days ago, and it has been humid here, and with high dew points, the humidity has been 99% for the past 2 days. Dew point is just a few degrees above or below the temperature, the high temperature, so it is very wet outside. It holds up pretty well. I get a little bit of frizz still because you're not gonna eliminate frizz totally with curly hair. That's just, don't even try. If you're hung up on frizz, you really gotta change your mindset, because frizz is part of curly hair. It's part of our texture. You're not going to eliminate it 100%. You can definitely reduce it like I have, but I've got frizz. I've got frizz in different parts of my hair. I mean, the lighting's not great, but I do have some, especially in the crown area. You know, this part's always frizzed, but whatever, I don't care. This part is always frizzy here, like in there. See how I've always got frizz there? But I've gotten used to it. I live with it. I know it's a part of my hair. What can I do? Move on. So let's see. Anyway, so the Giovanni LA Hold Gel, you can see I have underlined a couple of different ingredients in there, and this one's a really good gel for high humidity, high dew points. You can see it's got humidity resistant ingredients, it's got a couple of film forming humectants, and it's got emollients in it. So I don't see any regular humectants in there, which is exactly what I want, because I don't want the humectants in my hair attracting moisture that is around me to my hair to frizz it out. Also, I should mention, you really want to pay attention to the first 5 or so ingredients in the ingredients list. If you find a humectant low on the ingredients list, I wouldn't worry about it too much. You can experiment and see, but usually if it's down there, it's really not going to have much of an effect. Anyway, look at the first 5 ingredients and go from there. All right, so now styling according to the dew points. So you can pretty much any weather app or website will tell you what the dew point is. What I like to do is when I'm going to wash my hair, I mean, I don't really do this so often anymore because I swear to God, the weather is always the same here. It is always a high dew point with a high humidity, so I never really check. But I used to when I would straighten my hair, I always checked to see. I knew that if it was going to be, like the humidity was going to be really high, that I wasn't even going to bother straightening my hair because within 5 minutes it would be ruined. But you can check, especially those of you who are in different parts of the country where the weather's actually changing. You should check when you're going to wash your hair what the dew point's going to be for the next couple of days so that you can choose the right styling products. There's also a website, or naturallycurly.com has a frizz forecast. It's a specific page on their website, and it's really specific to just frizz. So you can go on there, you put your curl type and your zip code, and then it tells you for the next 5 days, I believe. Gives you a 5-day forecast that with including the dew point and the humidity, so you can make the right decision. So you can check that really quickly before you style. So humidity is what we usually think of when we are worried about the weather affecting our hair. And humidity is part of it. Humidity is basically a measure of how much water vapor is in the air at any given moment. So it's usually a percentage. Where I live, it's usually in the 80s to 90s, which is really saturated, so there's a lot of water in the air. So I know that I have to style my hair to protect it against humidity all the time. Now, humidity there's also cases where the humidity can be like 90%, but your hair is actually not affected by it because of the dew point. What's the dew point? So dew point is the temperature at which the water actually starts to condense in the air. So for example, what temperature does the air have to be for water droplets to actually start to form? The dew point has to be less than the temperature, than the high temperature of the day. Basically, the dew point has to be less than the temperature. I'll give you an example of what I mean. So you can have 90% humidity in 35 degrees or 2 degrees Celsius weather, and the humidity won't do anything to your hair. But you can have 60% humidity in 75 degrees Fahrenheit weather and 24 degrees Celsius. And your hair will be a frizzy mess because the dew points are completely different. Why is that the case? The temperature has to be cool to the dew point for water to actually form. So if the dew point is, let's say, 60 degrees and it is 65 degrees outside, then that's a really close range where your hair is definitely going to be affected by that. If the dew point is 60 degrees but it's 85 degrees outside, then that's a lot drier. There's not as much moisture in the air, so your hair is really not going to be affected by it. So that's why the dew point matters, and that's why you have to take that into consideration and not just look at the humidity. For that reason, I really recommend the frizz forecast from naturallycurly.com. I mean, you don't have to do any math or anything. You can just look at it, it tells you, and then you can style, choosing the humectants and emollients and all those kinds of things according to what's going on. So first up, low or dry dew points. That is when the dew point is below 35 degrees Fahrenheit or about 2 degrees Celsius. So in low dew points, your hair is going to release water when using humectants, like I said earlier. So in this environment, you want to avoid humectants because they're going to cause dryness, flyaways, and split ends and breakage. Now, film forming humectants are okay So you can use them if you need the extra moisture. So film forming humectants are okay. Don't use anti-humectants because that's going to block your hair from moisture, and then it can become brittle and unmanageable. So what you want to do is use leave-in conditioner, do deep conditioning treatments very often. You want to really have hydrated hair in this type of weather. Use light hold products, use emollients, fatty alcohols in your products help condition your hair. Focus on hydration. That is the main thing you want to do when you're in a low, dry dew point. You want to avoid humectants and anti-humectants. Now, if you're in a high dew point, that is when the dew point is above 60 degrees Fahrenheit or 15 Celsius. And in this case, your hair will absorb water from the atmosphere, which results in frizz. High porosity hair is going to be affected much more than other porosities by this. So what you want to do in this environment is use anti-humectants, humidity-resistant ingredients, and emollients. Hard hold gels, any hard hold styling products, anything with humidity-resistant ingredients and anti-humectants in it, emollients, and very lightweight moisture. You can even skip the leave-in conditioner if that works for you. Don't use any heavy moisturizing products. Don't use any humectants. Mid-range dew points is kind of like in between seasons when it's between 30 to 40 degrees or about -1 to 4 degrees Celsius. So in this kind of in between, you're gonna have to experiment with your hair. Some people's hair is okay with humectants, others are not. So you're really gonna have to experiment and see how it goes for you and figure out what your hair needs in this specific range of dew points. Optimal dew points, the best ones where you can actually use humectants, is between 40 to 60 degrees Fahrenheit or 4 to 15 degrees Celsius. So this is the range that gives you your best curls. It's going to be the least affected by the weather. You can use humectants, you can use emollients, you can use medium hold products. You don't have to layer the moisture, anti-humectants, or any of those other things. So this is the best range. If you live in an area that has this, you are lucky. All of these are in a handy little cheat sheet, like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, which you can download. I have it linked below. I like to print it out and put it up in my office area so that I can look for things like this. I like to print out and put in my office area. I don't need to reference this because, like I said, the dew point is the same year round, so I don't really have to change up my styling methods. But if you're a little bit confused by this, it's really handy to have something to reference so you can have it on your phone, print it out. Really good for that. So I hope this video was helpful for you. I'd love to hear your feedback in the comments and continue the conversation down there. Thank you for watching. If you like this video and you would like more content on clean beauty and curly hair, then please subscribe to my channel and